If you are a Warriors fan, stop everything now, because what happened today completely changes the course of this season. I know exactly what you're feeling, that mix of hope and frustration, the feeling that the team is always one decision away from taking the leap or losing everything, for that decision has finally come. And it's not small. It's not a behind-the-scenes detail. It's a movement that directly touches on the pain of fans who want to truly compete, who want to stop living in the past. In the next few minutes, I will show you what the Golden State decided, why this happened now, and most importantly, how this could be the solution that many people have been waiting for to save the present and future of the Warriors. Pay attention, because understanding this changes the way you will see this season. Before following, subscribe to the channel now, because if you really follow the Warriors, this is the type of content you can't miss. Leave a like too. This really helps the video reach more fans who are feeling exactly the same thing as you. Activate the bell so you don't find out about decisions only after everything has already exploded, because here, information arrives when it happens. And stay with me until the end, because what comes now connects this decision with what could happen in the next games, in the next weeks, and even in the future of the Golden State. If you think you've seen everything with this team, continue with the video, because this story is far from over. There are days when the season seems to follow a predictable script, one game after another, an injury here, an adjustment there, a good sequence that gives hope, another that makes us doubt. And then there is that kind of day when you feel, before it even happens, that something big is being prepared. Today is one of those days for the Golden State, because what is being discussed now is not a simple rotation change. It is not a behind-the-scenes detail that dies in 2 days. It's a decision that could define the rest of this season, and with it, the real size of our next title window. I want to talk to you like someone who sits in the room and starts the game. But first, stop and think with me. When was the last time you felt really uncertain about the team's path? It's not pessimism, it's not despair, it's not that momentary anger after a tough defeat. I'm talking about that honest, silent doubt that appears when you realize that the team is at a crossroads. Like, which version of Warriors are we going to be from now on? That's exactly where we are. And this feeling becomes even stronger when you look at who supports this project. Steph Curry continues to play at an elite level, contradicting any logic about time and wear and tear. He is the type of player who, even when the game is tight and the opponent's plan is to take everything from him, finds a way to influence, to change the pace, to change the score, and to change the emotions of those watching. This is not normal. This is rare. And precisely because it is rare, the organization has an enormous responsibility to make the most of what still exists from this peak, because this window does not stay open forever. Then comes a point that changes the tone of everything. The Warriors did not stand still. The team brought in Jimmy Butler last offseason, and that, in itself, is a message. Butler is not enough to be an ornament. It is not enough to make numbers. It is not enough to see what happens. He arrives with weight, with demands, with presence on both sides of the court, with the ability to create his own play, to hit inside, to handle the physical impact of big games, and to impose a mentality that often separates a good team from a team really ready to fight for the title. So, when you put it on paper, Steph at a very high level, Jimmy as a force on both sides, Draymond bringing identity and reading the game, and a squad that should fit around these pillars, the natural expectation is that the Golden State would be one of the most dangerous teams in the West. And at the same time, even with good moments, there is still that feeling of a missing piece, as if the puzzle was almost complete. But the final fit wasn't happening the way we imagined at the beginning of the season. And this is where the central subject comes in strongly, because it touches emotion, patience, and the future. Jonathan Kuminga. Remember draft day? Do you remember what was said about him? It was no ordinary prospect. He was the type of player that makes fans and analysts see a great tomorrow. A winger with size, explosion, ability to defend multiple positions, and an offensive ceiling that would seem gigantic if he could combine technique, reading, and confidence. The Golden State invested a high choice, invested time, invested minutes, invested daily work. The idea was clear: prepare a pillar of the next era. And the most dangerous, and at the same time most seductive, is that the Kuminga had flashes that make us believe. Games in which he seems unstoppable, attacking the rim with strength, hitting mid-range shots, playing with aggression, and with that athlete's body that changes the game when he's in the right rhythm. These are the moments that fuel hope. It's these moments that make us think, maybe this is where the next leap is born. But the NBA doesn't forgive when the distance between potential and production starts to get too big. Because potential, no matter how real it is, does not win playoff series alone. Potential does not close a tight fourth quarter. Potential does not correct positioning errors in the decisive possession. And according to the scenario presented in this material you sent me, the hard point is that the 2025-26 season has been difficult for Kuminga in terms of consistency. It's not just a bad day. It is a sequence of signs: difficulty in finding a role within the attack, large fluctuations in impact, defensive lapses at important moments, and a feeling that the evolution curve, which we expected to see always rising, has stabilized, and in some respects, it seems to have taken a few steps back. There is a detail that, when it appears, weighs much more than any opinion. The example of the DNP against the Chicago Bulls on Sunday mentioned in the text, a did not play. A young player who in theory would be an important part of the rotation and, for some, even a possible third option in certain games, being left out due to a technical decision is a strong sign, because this is not savings, it is not prevention, it is not enough today. It is a message of trust. It's as if the committee said in the most direct way possible, in this game, we don't believe you give us the best chance of winning. And when he plays, from what the text describes, the impact doesn't always appear the way it should. Drop in offensive efficiency, questionable choices at times, and a defense that isn't delivering that versatility that made everyone excited about him back then. What once seemed like energy and aggressiveness begins to turn into hesitation, and this is cruel to any athlete because when confidence wavers, the player seems to be trapped between two voices. What the coach demands and what he feels is his own style. And while he tries to find that middle ground, the team is in "we need to win now" mode. And this is where the conversation stops being romantic and becomes the mathematics of time. Steph is 36 years old, as the text mentions, still at MVP level, still capable of carrying entire nights. But no one holds this peak forever. So the question is not, can Kuminga be good? The real question is, will Kuminga be ready on the same clock as Steph? Because the Golden State, the way it is set up, cannot afford to wait another 2 or 3 years in the hope that everything will fall into place. The team needs production now, need reliability now. It needs people to come in and help win high-level basketball now. And that is exactly why this news takes on the appearance of a huge decision. According to what was presented in the transcript, one of the reporters most connected to the team's coverage, Anthony Slater, points out that the Golden State has already answered the question that dominated any fan conversation. Is Kuminga untouchable, or is he an exchange asset? And the answer, according to this account, is clear. He is not untouchable. More than that, the expectation is that the franchise will actively explore the market for him in the weeks leading up to the trade deadline on February 5th. And I need to repeat this part calmly because it changes the reading of what lies ahead. Actively exploring is not just listening to proposals. It's not just, if someone calls, we'll talk. Is to enter the negotiation period with the mindset that there is a strong probability of separation before the deadline. This in practice means that the front office is accepting a reality. Kuminga's development schedule may not be aligned with the team's title schedule. This is not to declare that he is no good. It's not giving up on his career. It's not to say he won't make it in the NBA. What this says is something more specific and more common than many people like to admit. Sometimes a player needs an environment where he can make mistakes without each mistake costing him a playoff game. He needs constant minutes, controlled freedom, progressive responsibility, and a team that is trying to win right now doesn't have the same tolerance for that process. The pressure is different. The error weighs more. The space for learning is smaller. And that's why, for Kuminga, An exchange can even represent a new beginning that unlocks everything we've already seen in flashes. Think from his side. He is alongside some of the biggest names of the generation within a sophisticated system requiring reading, execution, and tactical discipline. He is not only evaluated on how he grows as a player, it is evaluated by Q, how much it helps to win a big game against a title contender. This is heavy, and not every young person can develop in the midst of this type of pressure. For some, the change of scenery becomes the key. More ball in hand, more minutes, more space to make decisions and learn in real time, and suddenly, potential becomes production. Now think from the side of the Warriors. If you decide to put Kuminga on the market, you are opening up real possibilities for immediate adjustment. The text makes it clear that it is not a movement to rebuild. It's not about accumulating choices and waiting. The idea would be to use a young, athletic, valuable asset as the centerpiece of a package to bring in someone ready, proven, capable of helping win now. And then the conversation turns into a profile. What type of player would make sense? The transcript itself points out needs that make a lot of sense when you look at the team coldly. First, a reliable third scorer. Steph and Jimmy will produce, but playoff basketball is punishing when the defense can carry everything on two stars. You need someone who punishes on the weak side, who creates his own shot when the attack stalls, who relieves pressure and turns difficult possessions into points. Second, size and defensive versatility, especially against bigger wings, and rim-protecting help when Draymond needs to breathe or when he gets into foul trouble. These are details that seem small in December but become giants in May. The ideal target in this design would be someone between 25 and 29 years old, as the text mentions, outside the project phase, still at their physical peak, with experience of big games, and who can produce without needing to monopolize the ball. A player who accepts the Golden State's ecosystem, who knows how to play without the ball, who takes advantage of spaces when Steph attracts double marking, who hits free throws, who defends more than one position, and who doesn't get lost in defensive exchanges. It's a specific profile, it's not easy, but that's exactly why the exchange window becomes so intense. And there is the financial part that many people ignore when they are just in the excitement. Kuminga is on a rookie contract, which makes him an attractive piece because he delivers potential at a relatively low cost. But this low has an expiration date because the need for a new contract soon arises. And then the Golden State needs to ask itself a cold question. Does it make sense to commit long-term money to a player who has not yet proven consistent winning impact? Or is it better to convert that value now to someone who is already certain to contribute? Even more so with large contracts already taking up space and the reality of luxury tax influencing every decision. It also has symbolic weight, which is enormous. When a franchise signals that it is willing to move an important young asset to seek immediate help, it sends messages. Send a message to Steph, "We will go to the limit to enjoy your final prime years." Sends a message to Jimmy, "You came to really compete, not to live a season of transition." Sends a message to the league, "We are not satisfied with just participating in the playoffs. We want to fight for the title." It changes the environment, changes the level of internal charging. External respect changes. Now, I don't think it's fair to turn this into a Kuminga hunt. The text itself makes a point of making it clear. He has talent, he worked, he had promising moments. This is not a discussion about character or giving up at a young age. It's a discussion about fit, about time, and about what the team needs right now. In another organization, with another sequence of opportunities, with different pressure, he could become a great player, maybe even a big name. However, in the scenario outlined by this coverage, it seems that the Golden State does not believe that this growth will happen fast enough to keep up with the urgency of the current project. That's why the next few weeks are so decisive. The February 5th trade deadline appears in the text as a milestone, and it is. It is the period in which teams look inward, identify weaknesses, and choose between two pains: the pain of staying as they are and accepting limitations, or the pain of changing and dealing with the risk of a change. Not every possibility becomes reality. Not every target becomes available. But the simple fact that the franchise, according to this report, is willing to put Kuminga in a serious conversation says a lot about the direction being taken. And for us fans, this mixes sensations. There is excitement, because the idea of seeing the team more ready to fight at a high level moves us. And there is a natural discomfort, because following a young person's development creates a bond. We cling to the promise, the flashes, the what if. But champion franchises tend to be merciless in this type of assessment. They try to separate feeling from result. And like it or not, the Warriors built I have spent much of my own recent history making difficult decisions and aggressively pursuing excellence. So the portrait, as this material presents it, is this. The organization understands that Jonathan Kuminga is not untouchable. There is a strong probability of separation before the deadline, and this can be good for both sides. For him, the chance of an environment where his game grows with less suffocation. For the Golden State, the chance to bring a ready-made piece that fits Steph and Jimmy and increases the team's ability to win when the level rises. Now, I really want to listen to you because this is the question that divides fans and changes the channel's conversation. Do you think this is the right time to change Kuminga because of Steph's window, or would you still give more time to try to extract what he can be within the system? And if the trade happens, which player profile would make you look and say, okay, it was worth it? Because in the end, what defines whether a decision is huge is not the noise of the announcement. That's what she becomes on the court, when the game gets tight and the season starts to demand a response. And this is exactly where the story gains the weight it deserves. Because when a franchise like the Golden State starts to admit that nothing is untouchable, the message is not just for the market, it is for the entire season. It's as if the team is saying bluntly, Steph's window will not be wasted. And that changes everything, because from the moment that door opens, the next news stops being loose speculation and becomes pieces of a domino that could fall at any moment. Now, I want you to remember one thing. A big decision is not the one that looks good on Twitter. The big decision is the one that appears in the fourth quarter, when the game slows down, when Steph's score doubles, when physicality weighs heavily, when mistakes are costly. And that's why this movement, this aggressive stance, this sign that the front office is ready to act, could be the turning point that we've been waiting for since the beginning. Because if the Golden State gets it right, it's not just about improving the squad, is to redefine the team's ceiling, is to transform an unstable path into a real path to fight for the title. And if you feel deep down that anxiety of a fan who thinks, okay, but what comes next? I tell you, the most insane period of the season is coming. It is now that conversation becomes rumor, rumor becomes report, report becomes negotiation, and negotiation becomes exchange. It is now that every detail matters. Every name that appears changes the atmosphere. Every new piece of information changes the board. So don't disconnect from here, because the next update could come out of nowhere and turn everything upside down. And so you don't miss anything from this whirlwind, do the following. Go directly to the pinned comment and click on the Golden State Warriors News Today playlist. Everything is organized there in sequence for you to marathon and understand the complete puzzle. What happened, what is happening, and what could explode at any moment. If you want to follow this soap opera the right way, without falling behind and without catching just a few loose bits, the playlist is your map. Also, comment there what you think will happen, because I want to read your opinion and bring it to the next videos.